Imagine we lived in a near perfect utopic world where everyone got along, people respected one another's opinions, there was no more war, and overall there was just complete world peace and happiness. And that is exactly what has happened right here in my simulation. However, there is one slight itsy-bitsy minor inconvenience. There were 7 other planets, and let me just tell you right now, these people are not nearly as peaceful. As a matter of fact, they all share vastly different ideologies, and when they discover the technology to travel to one another in roughly 250 years, the entire solar system will erupt into one massive war to see which ideology is the best. So, yeah, so much for world peace. But let me go ahead and introduce you to these different people. Naturally, first up, we have the Earthlings, who will all follow a mercantile capitalist ideology. And pretty much the way that this works is I just put this trait into the birth editor so that every child is born with this, which is kind of weird if you think about it. You know, like every single child is just born inherently capitalist. But yeah, we probably just shouldn't think about that and move on. Next over is the Venusians, who have the martial ideology because Venus is, you know, naturally kind of a hellhole, so they kind of have to live by the sword over here. Then we have the Martians, who follow a dynastic ideology, meaning that they believe in royalty and worship a king. Then we have the Jupiterians, who are just straight up communist. No reason, I kind of just wanted to make them communist, I guess because they're big like Russia. Then on Uranus, we have the Uranus people. It's Latin, I hope. And they follow the chaos ideology. Then we have the Ringers on Saturn, who also follow a martial ideology, and the only reason this is simply just because I'm getting these ideologies from using the modern box mod, and they only have 5 different ideologies. So I know that's kind of disappointing, but also then again, I don't think the modern box creators ever thought I would put their ideologies onto entire planets. But next up on Neptune, we have the Nepo babies. I get the name, it's pretty funny, who are also Chaos too. And you'll notice that they're actually in Pluto right now because Neptune is a frozen water world that they can't really do anything on. And lastly, we have Little Mercury, who is also capitalistic because once again, it's pretty much hell. Yeah, look at me, I'm edgy, huh? Look at my funny jokes, right? So with their respective ideologies, they also have their respective kingdoms too. And if you're wondering what the Neptune kingdom stands for, it stands for the Joint Alliance of Cool Kids and Legends. Yep, that's what it stands for. So anyway, let's go ahead and click unpause here. I'm honestly not even quite sure entirely what the difference between these ideologies are here, so we're gonna find out. But obviously, you know, some planets may be better than the others. Like in our situation, Earth is actually kind of limited because of its oceans, which limits the amount of land they can actually use. And Jupiter is absolutely massive, plus it has like 3 moons that they can also colonize as well. And also, I obviously tried to pick the ideologies for the planets as best as I could, but believe it or not, it's actually pretty hard to give specific ideologies to actual entire planets. So if you're from Mars and you're upset that I gave you the dynasty ideology instead of the capitalist one, I sincerely apologize, but I do know what you guys from Venus are like, so don't even try to convince me that you guys are not martial ideology. And at this point, I guess we should all go ahead and pick our favorite planet. I guess I should probably go over here for Earth, but for some reason this kingdom up here in Pluto is just calling me. There's just something about it that I can't quite get my head around, but it's just convincing me to cheer for them. The only downside about cheering for the Jackal kingdom is that they are the worst, by far. But anyway, at this point, there's not much going on. These kingdoms need a lot of time to grow, so we are going to simulate all the way to year 700, right before the war begins, where we'll check in on these guys, and then, you know, let them beat the crap out of each other. And here we are at year 700. We have given our planets plenty of time to expand, however, it looks like some of them haven't done so well. Like my precious Jackal Empire up here, it does look absolutely awesome, and they even have some good modern technology before, because like I kind of mentioned, to make these ideologies possible, we have to have the modern box mod installed, which I have used before. You probably all know what it is, but if you don't, just look at the name. What do you think it does? But you know, like a wise man once said, also known as me, it could be a lot worse, because at least my kingdom isn't like the capitalist hero Mercury, who have taken up the grand idea of trying to colonize the sun. And the sad thing is, it's actually kind of working. They somehow built a watchtower on the sun, which might just be the most ironic thing I've ever seen, because, you know, watchtowers are so you can get better vision and stuff, you know, kind of like a lighthouse. But when you're on the sun, you're not exactly in a short supply of light anywhere. But because of that, they actually have less than the starting 100 people at this point. The Soviet Union has expectedly become the biggest kingdom just because of how huge they are. And just looking inside their kingdom, it actually looks like the real Soviet Union too, like their similar architecture. And they've even made cool colonies on some of their moons too. Oh god, this isn't gonna be good at all. So their next biggest competition is here on Saturn with the Ringers, who've also expanded greatly, but they're not quite as big. The Uranus Destroyers, probably could have picked a better name for them, are next up, still pretty powerful. Mars is doing pretty alright too. Same with Venus, who actually looks really awesome right now. And then we have Earth, who've somehow like managed to destroy the own planet somehow. Like, how do you even do... Okay, well, I guess we're doing that in real life too. But I mean, how do you do that in WorldBox here? Like, what even happened? But this means they are very weak. And the two capitalist kingdoms combined barely have 250 people. This isn't looking good for them. Also, ironically, Earth's motto is determined by wealth, which is oddly fitting for their ideology. But right before we do the war, I'm gonna do one more thing just to give these guys more of a fighting chance. Since we're trying to see the best ideology, I'm going to ally any kingdom up who has the same ideology, which means I'm going to unite Venus and Saturn, Uranus and the Jackal kingdom, and then Earth and Mercury. Although I don't think these guys over here are actually going to get a lot done. So I have named these new alliances the Marshals, the Chaos Allegiance, and the Capitalists, because yeah, I mean, they don't really stand a chance here at all. But now it is time to lift the space barriers. Now every single planet can move between one another, and we are going to grab Spite and sprinkle it and start the war. So with every war started, just for reference, our sapient population starts at about 5,000 and it is already plummeting. But you know what, to make this even worse, we are going to turn on angry villagers to just increase the sheer amount of death that is going to happen from this war. Not really for any reason, I just kind of want to see it. And it seems like the first main war here is going to be between Saturn and Uranus, as they are very close to one another. Saturn is gathering their army to charge in here. However, it doesn't look like they have very advanced technology right now, as some Uranus guys have guns, including an MIRV, that could be absolutely detrimental and kill hundreds of marshals in pure seconds, as they are going to get absolutely lit up as they head down the planet path. But they are essentially sending their own troops into a furnace. This is not a good idea. And because the Soviet Union is technically only like one village right here, they have collected their entire force into one little square where the troops are so dense that it's just a giant red blob on the map here. And if we zoom in, this is what they look like, and every single one of them is armed with a weapon. It's going to be hard to take them down. But one more thing about the modern box that many of you longtime followers of this channel know is that they can launch nukes. We're probably going to see plenty of those here, which honestly could change the tide of this entire war. And at the current point, the Marshals are being absolutely tag teamed by both the Soviet Union, who's beginning to move in, and the Chaos Allegiance too. Despite them being the largest alliance and one of the biggest powers, they're already on the brink of collapse here. Because they're allied up with Venus, it's actually very hard for them to meet up with their other troops, while somehow Earth is actually doing not too bad. So far, Mars has wisely decided to stay uninvolved with anything. Hey, you know, at least my kingdom's still looking okay over here. Look at that. Yay, look at them. Oh, and the Capitalists on Mercury are completely gone. They have been taken by Venus, and that was honestly a shocker to absolutely nobody. Yeah, I expected that to happen. But already falls Saturn II into the hands of the Soviet Union. However, they have lost almost 1,000 people as well. I guess technically Saturn remains alive on one of their moons over here, but yeah, I don't think they're gonna last very much longer. The Soviet Union has just done the very wise strategy of taking out their biggest competitor first, meaning that they only have a bunch of these small kingdoms left. And meanwhile, back in my favorite kingdom, they are down to just 40 people. And looking into their kingdom, I know they don't have a lot, but they have crabs. Of course they have crabs. They always have crabs. And somehow the crabs have picked up the chaos ideology too. But right now, as it stands, it looks like the best ideology might just be communism right here. But they just lost 100 people. Do you see their population draining right now? What is going on? Oh my god, they're walking through the Trail of Terror. That's just what I've decided to name this area. But the troops from Uranus have just been launching fire weapons as all of the the Russian troops try to pass through this cavern to access their kingdom, that literally obliterated most of their army. I'm not sure why they tried to do that. This is literally the most deadly area on the map here. Remember when I said the world population started at 5,000? Now it is down to just 1,500, and that's with Respawn still own. Kingdoms can recover their population, and Russia's army is trying to dig through here, but the Uranus soldiers who have the chaos ideology completely fended off their attack. And now they're in close competition with Mars of all people for being the strongest, and Mars actually has a stronger army than they do at this point, and Mars has had the smart strategy of just ignoring everybody and not doing anything. However, right now a small Earth force has moved in to try to take them. It looks like they're gonna get taken out, but they actually have some pretty good weapons here, and holy crap, they are absolutely decimating Mars. And while they would eventually fend off the attack, Earth, who is actually stronger than they were before, have done considerable damage, and they're sending in even more troops. Oh my god, look at this destruction right here. It seems like that Earth maybe doesn't have too many people, but they might have a lot of technology, which is what they're using right here. And holy crap, the fight between Mars and Earth is going to destroy both kingdoms, as Mars has been almost completely decimated, and the Soviet Union has flown back into control. However, Saturn has been destroyed, and for the past little while, Venus has kind of just been on their own recovering. It appears that their kingdom has been mostly replaced by, crabs. That's quite a bit odd. Why do crabs always get in this video? Like, how are they in this video? Like, it's space. We are in space right now. Like, how are crabs even here? And now, because of these ideologies, not so smart tactics, despite their weakened nature, the Soviet Union is still overpowering everybody else, and it looks like it should be an easy win for them. So we're gonna speed up here and see what happens. Somehow the Soviets keep trying to send their army into Uranus and keep failing every single time, while Earth and Mars continue ruthlessly fighting each other with no clear winner in sight, and they're both just weakening one another. Oh, and a huge Russian army comprised of, looks like most of their technology is moving into Uranus to hopefully try to take the kingdom. And as they slide through, they reach the entrance of the country here. They begin taking parts of it. Can they get the whole thing though, or will they get decimated? And believe it or not, they do. Despite Uranus literally having 20 people, wait, they still get taken. There was like 2 troops left, but Uranus finally falls, who's been the biggest thorn in Jupiter's side this whole time, leaving just a few kingdoms left. And other than Jupiter, somehow Earth is now the biggest kingdom. And you know, I guess their oceans do give them one advantage, that they can have giant sick navies over here that they can use, but I'm not sure how much of a difference that's gonna make. As we speed up here, Russia is destroying what's left of Venus and also sending a huge force in to deal with my kingdom too. And they are approaching the entrance to my kingdom. Our only defense appears to be hot air balloons, which isn't gonna do much. And in a matter of seconds, my kingdom falls. Rest in peace, the joint alliance of cool kids and legends. You are my favorite for no reason, no obvious reason, leaving just a bunch of scrubs left. Mars had a good chance. If Earth just didn't attack them and they spent their resources over the Jupiter, I guarantee you they would have had them. And finally, before long, the Venus Empire is destroyed. Not even taken, they just killed everyone. Jeez, that's kind of brutal. Leaving just Mars and Earth left. They'll probably go for Mars next because, you know, they're right there. And a few years later, that seems to be exactly what they do. Even some Earth forces here too, I guess just for fun. And I think once again, instead of taking the kingdom, they're just gonna kill everybody. But no, look, they're kind this time and they leave one person left alive, leaving just the communist Jupiter and the capitalist Earth left. And they don't really deserve second place by any means, but I guess they're still the second to last one standing, as eventually they would send their military into Earth and completely wreck the place. But soon enough, the communist Jupiterians will walk down and take out the kingdom, meaning that the Soviet communist Jupiter kingdom will be the winner. Here are the final rankings for the ideologies. And obviously, you know, since this is the results that my crappy WorldBox simulation came up with, they have to be completely accurate to the real world, and you're not allowed to argue with them at all. So don't even think about it, or I'll hit you over the head with this rusty hammer right here. But anyway, moral of the story, even if Earth somehow did become all peaceful and nice and everyone was happy like in the beginning of the video, there is always bigger fish to fry, and it won't last for long. I know that's kind of depressing, but actually no, but that is pretty depressing. That's about all for the day. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and also join my Discord too, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Farewell.